We're all taught that being nice is one of the best things you can possibly be. But what happens when being nice starts to cost you your own peace of mind? Well, that's when it crosses over into people pleasing. And as we're about to find out, it's way more complicated than just being a good person.
So just take a second and think about your life. At work, with your family, your friends. Are you the one everyone counts on? The person who just can't say no? The one who's always smoothing things over? If you're kind of nodding along right now, then you are definitely in the right place.
And this is where we need to draw a really important line. See, genuine kindness, that comes from a place of strength. It's authentic. But people-pleasing, that's driven by fear. Fear of being rejected, fear of conflict, fear of what someone might think of you. The bottom line is, it's not about what you do, it's about why you're doing it.
Okay, so let's get a really clear definition here. A people pleaser isn't just a nice person. It's someone who has a pattern, a default setting almost, of putting everyone else's needs first. And this isn't harmless. It almost always comes at a huge cost to your own mental health.
So what's the difference between just being a helpful person and actually being a people pleaser? Well, let's run through a little checklist. As I go through these, just see if any of them, if they hit a little too close to home. So the big one, of course, is that it feels almost impossible to say no. But it's also about what happens when you actually manage to do it, that wave of guilt that washes over you. It's constantly worrying what other people think. It's saying, yeah, sure, to plans you're secretly dreading. It's saying, I'm sorry, when you literally did nothing wrong. All these little things pile up until you're just totally drained.
Saying yes all the time might seem like the easy way out, the path of least resistance. But wow, does it have some serious hidden costs that go so much deeper than just feeling tired?
I love this quote from sociologist Christine Carter. She just nails it. Pretending will rob you of joy. And that's exactly what people-pleasing is, right? It's a form of pretending. Pretending you agree, pretending you're not tired, pretending you're okay with something when you're not. And that performance, it doesn't just make you unhappy, it literally steals your capacity for real joy. And get this, it's not just in your head. There's a real physical price. Your body's internal alarm system doesn't know you're just trying to be nice. When you're being inauthentic, it sees a threat, and it triggers a physiological stress response. We're talking stress hormones flooding your system, the same ones that kick in when you're in actual danger. You're basically keeping your body in a constant, low-grade state of alert. And on top of all that physical stuff, it is just mentally exhausting. I want you to think of your willpower like your phone battery in the morning. Every single time you say yes when you mean no, you're draining that battery. And that's energy you no longer have for the important stuff, like focusing, managing your own feelings, or just making good choices for yourself. All right, check out this number, 2,203. Seems random, right? What do you think that could possibly be? Well, that was the exact number of students who were part of a huge study in 2025 that really dug into this. And what they found, it just confirms what so many of us have felt for years. There's a real, measurable connection here. I mean, the data just speaks for itself. The results were so clear. The more someone's behavior leaned towards people-pleasing, the lower their mental well-being score. It's an inverse relationship. And this isn't just a hunch or a feeling. It's a scientific pattern with really serious consequences. Okay, so this all leads us to the million-dollar question. Why? Why do we do this? Where does this deep, deep need to make sure everyone else is happy actually come from? To get that, we've got to dig a little deeper. Now, a lot of us just assume, oh, that's just how they are. They're just born agreeable, that it's just a personality trait. But what the research shows is that the roots of this usually go way, way deeper than that. For so many people, people-pleasing isn't a personality flaw at all. It's actually a survival strategy that they learned a long time ago, usually back in childhood. It was a behavior that at one point in their life actually worked. It was a smart way to stay safe, to get love, to get approval, in an environment where all those things felt, conditional. There's a specific term for this in psychology. We've all heard of fight, flight, or freeze as responses to a threat, but there's a fourth one that we don't talk about enough, and it's called fawning. Fawning is the please and appease instinct. When you feel like you can't fight back and you can't run away, you try to make the threat happy, to neutralize it. And that strategy, learned under stress, can become your go-to move in almost every relationship. So when you really boil it all down, it stems from a few core things. A deep fear of being rejected,
a sense of self-worth that's completely tied up in what other people think. It often goes back to those childhood patterns where you felt like you had to earn love by being the good kid. It's all about looking for validation and safety from the outside world because you haven't yet figured out how to give it to yourself.
Okay, so we've looked at the why, we've looked at the why. Now let's get to the most important part. What in the world can you actually do about it? How do you start moving from a life of constant pleasing to one that feels truly authentic to you?
And let me be absolutely crystal clear about this. The goal is not to become selfish. It's not about becoming unkind or a jerk. It's about changing your motivation. It's about making sure your acts of kindness come from a place of genuine strength and care, not from a place of fear and insecurity.
So, how do you even start? Look, it's about baby steps. First, you start small. Practice saying no to things that don't really matter that much. This helps you build up that no muscle. Second, you got to get clear on what your boundaries actually are. What's a hard no for you? And third, this one's huge. Create a pause. Before you automatically say yes, just take a breath and ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to or because I'm afraid not to?
And that just brings us to this final thought from Christine Carter, which really hits the nail on the head. The constant stress and tension that comes from pretending is so much worse than the risk that some people might not like the real you. Your well-being is built on authenticity.
So, I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. We're so conditioned to think of no as this negative, harsh word. But what if that's all wrong? What if saying no to someone else is the most powerful, authentic, and liberating yes you could ever give to yourself? Thanks for digging into this with me today.